The sleek scout ship of the Galactic Council hung motionless in space, its sensors focused on the blue-green planet below. Captain Gray stood at the observation deck, his purple eyes wide with disbelief as he read the readings for the third time. "This can't be right," he muttered, calling over his science officer. "Run the gravity measurements again." Officer Smith floated to the console, her movements graceful in the ship's artificial gravity. After a few moments, she looked up with a shocked expression. "The readings are correct, Captain. This planet has a gravity field 3 times stronger than standard. It's a death world." But what truly stunned them wasn't the crushing gravity. It was the clear signs of civilization they detected on the surface. "Impossible," Captain Gray whispered, zooming in on one of the major cities. The screens showed buildings reaching toward the sky, vehicles moving on vast networks of roads, and most incredibly, beings walking around as if the crushing gravity meant nothing to them. The crew watched in amazement as these creatures, these humans, went about their daily lives. They built towers, ran in open spaces, and even played games that involved jumping and running. All this in gravity that would crush most galactic citizens. "Look at that." Officer Smith pointed to a group of humans playing something called basketball, leaping several feet into the air as if it were nothing. "Their muscle density must be incredible." The ship's AI calculated that a typical council citizen would barely be able to move on this planet, let alone build a civilization. Yet these humans didn't just survive. They thrived. As they continued their observation, something unexpected happened. Their supposedly stealthy ship's presence was detected. A message crackled through their communications system, transmitted from a facility called NASA. "Unknown vessel, this is Robert Anderson from Earth Space Command. We've detected your presence in high orbit. Please identify yourself." The bridge fell silent. First contact protocols were clear. Primitive species shouldn't be able to detect their advanced stealth technology. Yet these humans, with their relatively basic technology, had spotted them. Captain Gray straightened his uniform and responded, "This is Captain Gray of the Galactic Council scout ship Horizon. We did not expect to be detected." A slight chuckle came through the communication system. "Your gravity wake disrupted our satellite network. Hard to miss something that makes our spacecraft wobble." The casual way the human mentioned detecting gravitational distortions, something most council species needed advanced technology to perceive, sent another shock through the crew. "We would like to arrange a meeting," Captain Gray said, following first contact protocols despite his amazement. "Your species has achieved something we believed impossible." "What's that?" Anderson asked, curiosity evident in his voice. "You've built a civilization on what we classify as a death world. Your gravity alone should make complex life impossible, yet you've achieved space flight. The Council will want to know how." There was a pause before Anderson responded, confusion in his voice. "Death world. This is just Earth. We've been here quite a while." Captain Gray looked at his crew, seeing his own astonishment reflected in their faces. These humans didn't even realize how extraordinary they were. They had evolved on a world that would kill most sentient species within minutes, and they considered it normal. As the arrangements for first contact began, Captain Gray sent an urgent message to the Galactic Council. They had discovered something unprecedented, a species that defied their understanding of biological limits. Humanity would shake the foundations of galactic society, and it all began with this simple discovery. The question wasn't just how humans survived in such conditions, but what other impossible feats they might be capable of. The galaxy was about to learn that their definition of impossible needed serious revision. 3 days after the initial contact, the United Nations building in New York buzzed with nervous energy. World leaders gathered in the main assembly hall, their eyes fixed on the massive doors. Behind those doors waited the first official delegation from the Galactic Council. Security Chief Tom Wilson checked his earpiece for the 10th time. "All positions ready," he reported to the Secretary General. "The alien delegation is approaching." The doors swung open. Captain Gray led a group of 5 council representatives into the hall. Their movements were slow and careful, each step seeming to require great effort. They wore what looked like mechanical assist suits, glowing with a soft blue light. "Honorable leaders of Earth," Captain Gray spoke through a translator, his voice slightly strained. "We apologize for our awkward movements. Your gravity is challenging for us." The Secretary General stepped forward to welcome them. "Please, let us offer you seats. We had no idea our gravity would cause such difficulty." As the aliens settled into specially prepared hover chairs, Ambassador Lee from the Council spoke up. "We've discovered something remarkable about your world. You've achieved spaceflight despite living in gravity that should make it impossible." The room filled with confused murmurs. A NASA representative stood up. "We launched our first satellite in 1957. We reached the moon in 1969. Is this unusual?" The aliens looked at each other in shock. Ambassador Lee leaned forward. "You reached your moon using chemical rockets, without anti-gravity technology." "Yes," the NASA representative replied. "We used Saturn V rockets, heavy ones, but they worked fine." Captain Gray activated a holographic display in the center of the room. It showed various planets from across the galaxy. Standard gravity for most civilized worlds is 1/3 of Earth's. Most species cannot function in anything higher. Yet you built rockets powerful enough to escape triple gravity using primitive chemical propulsion. The human leaders began to understand. Their normal was extraordinary to the rest of the galaxy. "We've come with an offer," Ambassador Lee continued. "The Council can provide technology to reduce Earth's gravity. We can help rescue your people from these crushing conditions." The room erupted in discussion. Finally, a young engineer named Mark stood up. "With all respect," he said, "we don't need rescuing. This is our home. Instead, maybe we could help you. Our experience with high gravity might be useful." The council members whispered among themselves. They hadn't expected this response. These humans weren't just surviving in deadly conditions. They were proud of it. "There's more," Captain Gray added. "Our scans show you've already started building a space station. You're planning colonies on Mars, all without Council technology." "Of course," Mark replied. "It's the next step. We've got ships ready for Mars missions next year." The Council members looked stunned again. These humans weren't just surviving. They were expanding into space despite their handicap. Ambassador Lee stood with visible effort. "The Council must discuss this. You've achieved what we thought impossible. Perhaps instead of rescue, we should discuss membership." The Secretary General smiled. "We would welcome that discussion. But first, shall we show you some of our space facilities? You might find our solutions to high-gravity challenges interesting." As the meeting ended, the aliens watched in amazement as humans moved effortlessly around them, offering assistance with their mobility suits. The Council members had come expecting to find victims of a harsh world. Instead, they found a species that had turned what should have been a deadly weakness into remarkable strength. The galaxy would never be the same after this day. Humanity wasn't just ready to join the galactic community. They were about to revolutionize it. The Galactic Council's Grand Chamber fell silent as the Earth delegation entered. The massive room, designed to accommodate beings from 1,000 worlds, hosted its first human visitors. The Council members watched in amazement as the humans walked normally, while their own representatives needed anti-gravity supports just to move. Council leader Marcus spoke first, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Humans claim they can achieve spaceflight without our technology. This is difficult to believe." Jack Thompson, Earth's lead representative, stepped forward. Unlike the floating aliens around him, his boots made solid sounds on the metal floor. "We've already done it multiple times. We'd be happy to demonstrate again." Whispers spread through the chamber. A bet was forming among the council members, most believing the humans were either lying or mistaken. "Very well," Marcus announced. "We propose a challenge. Build a spacecraft using only Earth materials and technology. Reach orbit without our anti-gravity systems. Do this, and Earth will gain full Council membership." The other Council members nodded in agreement, some hiding smiles. They thought they had set an impossible task. Jack grinned. "We accept. How long do we have?" 3 Earth months, Marcus replied, expecting protest at such a short timeline. "We'll only need 2, Jack said confidently. The chamber erupted in surprised murmurs. Back on Earth, the news spread quickly. All major space agencies united under a single banner. Project Earthbound No More. Engineers and scientists from every nation gathered at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Chief Engineer Bill watched as teams worked around the clock. "They think we need their technology," he said to his team. "Let's show them what Earth engineering can do." The aliens had left observers to watch the project. They floated in their support suits, taking notes as humans lifted heavy equipment with ease and climbed tall structures without help. One observer approached Bill. "Your people work in full gravity as if it's nothing. How do you manage it?" Bill shrugged while easily carrying a heavy toolbox. "This is just normal for us. We've been building rockets this way for decades." The project moved faster than anyone expected. While the Council members thought humans would try to copy their anti-gravity technology, Earth's engineers took a different approach. They designed rockets that used Earth's high gravity as an advantage. "See, it's simple," Bill explained to the amazed observers. "The stronger gravity means our rockets need more power to escape. But it also means we've gotten really good at building powerful engines. In space, those same engines will be much more effective than standard Council designs." As the new spacecraft took shape, betting rings across the galaxy were busy. Most alien species put their money on human failure. A few, those who had visited Earth and seen humans in action, bet everything on their success. The observers sent daily reports back to the Council. Each report made the Council members more nervous. These humans weren't just working and crushing gravity. They were innovating in ways the Council had never considered. 1 month into the project, the new spacecraft stood ready for testing. It was unlike anything in the galaxy, not because it was more advanced, but because it was built by beings who had evolved to overcome challenges that other species considered impossible. Jack stood before the cameras, addressing both Earth and the watching galaxy. "The Council thinks Earth's gravity is our weakness. They're wrong. It's our greatest strength, and we're about to prove it." In the Council chamber, Marcus watched the broadcast with growing concern. Perhaps they had underestimated these humans. Perhaps they had underestimated them by a lot. The massive hangar at Kennedy Space Center buzzed with activity as the test ship took shape. Chief Engineer Bill wiped sweat from his forehead as he studied the blueprints. Next to him, the alien observers floated in their gravity suits, watching in fascination. "Today's the first engine test," Bill announced to his team. "Let's show our guests what Earth technology can do." The test engine sat in its concrete bay, larger than anything the Council observers had ever seen. One observer, floating closer, asked, "Why make it so big? Our ships use much smaller engines." Bill smiled. "Your ships were designed for lighter gravity worlds. We need more power just to get off the ground. But once we're in space..." He left the sentence hanging, knowing the aliens would soon understand. The control room filled with engineers as the countdown began. Through the thick windows, the giant engine waited. The alien observers pressed against the glass, their gravity suits humming with effort. "Engine test starting in 10, 9, 8. An alien observer turned to Bill. "Shouldn't we move further back?" "No need," Bill replied calmly. "Our safety measures are built for Earth gravity. They're probably over-engineered by your standards." The countdown reached 0. The engine roared to life, its thunder shaking the building. The aliens flinched in their suits, but the humans stood steady, used to such forces. The test bay's concrete walls, built to withstand Earth's gravity, and the engine's power didn't even tremor. Power output is twice what their ships use. One engineer called out, checking the readings. "And it's holding steady." The aliens exchanged worried looks. These humans hadn't just adapted to their heavy world. They had mastered it. Later that day, test pilot Mike walked into the hangar for his first look at the cockpit. Unlike the sleek council ships, this craft was built for pure power. Its hull was thick, designed to withstand the crushing forces of Earth's gravity. "It's not pretty," Mike said, running his hand along the ship's side, "but it'll get the job done." The next week brought test after test. Each time the engines fired, the aliens expected failure. Each time, the humans proved them wrong. The humans worked tirelessly, lifting heavy equipment that would crush most alien species, climbing tall structures without gravity assists, all while treating it as perfectly normal. One evening, as the sun set over the launch pad, an alien observer finally asked the question that had been bothering them all. "Your people move so easily here, work with such heavy materials. How are you not exhausted?" Mike laughed while doing his pre-flight checks. "This is just how we live. We're built for it. Actually, we're more worried about getting too weak in space. That's why we designed special exercise equipment for the ship." The observer's eyes widened. "You mean, you need to simulate this crushing gravity to stay healthy?" "Of course," Mike replied. "Without exercise, our muscles and bones would get too weak in space. We need at least some gravity to stay strong." The observer rushed to update the council. These humans weren't just surviving in high gravity. They required it to thrive. The implications were staggering. As the final tests approached, Bill gathered his team. The prototype ship stood ready, its powerful engines waiting for their first real flight. "Tomorrow," he announced, "we show the galaxy that Earth's gravity isn't our weakness. It's the reason we'll succeed where they thought we would fail." In orbit, council ships gathered to watch. They had come expecting to witness a failed attempt. Instead, they were about to see what humans could really do when challenged to prove themselves. Launch day arrived with a brilliant sunrise over Kennedy Space Center. The massive rocket stood tall on the pad, steam rising from its fuel tanks in the morning air. Council ships filled the sky above, their crews eager to witness what they believed would be humanity's failure. In the control room, Bill checked the weather screens one last time. "Perfect launch conditions," he announced to the team. "Clear skies all the way up." Mike sat in the cockpit, running through his pre-flight checklist. Unlike the alien ships with their anti-gravity systems, this craft relied on pure power to break free from Earth's grip. The radio crackled with his voice. "All systems looking good from up here." The alien observers had taken positions in the control room, their gravity suits working harder than usual due to their excitement. One of them spoke up. "Your ship's fuel tanks are much larger than our designs. Won't that make it too heavy?" Bill smiled. "We're used to heavy. On Earth, that's just how we build things." The countdown began. Council members watched through their ship's view screens, many already certain of what they would see. Their betting pools heavily favored a catastrophic failure. "T-minus 60 seconds, the launch controller announced. In the cockpit, Mike felt completely calm. He had trained for this his whole life. The aliens thought Earth's gravity made spaceflight nearly impossible, but he knew better. Every human in the program knew better. T-minus 30 seconds. The massive engines began their startup sequence. The ground rumbled, but the humans stood steady, used to such forces. The alien observers grabbed their support rails, amazed at how the humans barely noticed the vibration. T-minus 10, 9, 8. The engines roared to full power. The launch pad's concrete, built to withstand Earth's punishing gravity, held firm against forces that would shatter similar structures on lighter worlds. 5, 4, 3. Mike's voice came clear over the radio. "Let's show them what Earth can do." 2, 1. Liftoff. The rocket rose on a column of fire, fighting against gravity that would crush most alien ships. The control room erupted in concentrated activity as everyone monitored their stations. Speed nominal. Trajectory looking good. Engine performance at 100%. The alien observers watched in stunned silence as the ship climbed higher and higher. Their instruments showed forces that should have torn any spacecraft apart, yet the human ship powered through them. At 50,000 feet, something unexpected happened. One of the fuel sensors showed a minor problem. The aliens tensed, expecting disaster, but the humans remained calm. "Backup system engaging," Mike reported casually. No impact on flight path. The Council ships in orbit tracked the human vessel's ascent with growing amazement. The ship wasn't just surviving the climb. It was performing better than their own vessels did in much weaker gravity. "Approaching space boundary," Mike announced. All systems performing above expected levels. Bill turned to the nearest alien observer. "You thought Earth's gravity would hold us back. But it taught us to build stronger, to think bigger. Everything we make has to work under these conditions. That's not a weakness. It's our greatest advantage." The observer could only nod, watching as the human ship approached the final barrier between Earth and space. In orbit, Council members who had bet against humanity's success were starting to realize their mistake. Earth's gravity hadn't imprisoned humanity. It had prepared them for greatness. The human ship broke through Earth's atmosphere in a final burst of power. As the engines cut off, silence filled both the cockpit and the control room. For a moment, everything hung in perfect stillness. Then Mike's voice came through, calm and clear. "Houston, this is Earth ship freedom. We have achieved orbit." The control room exploded in cheers. Bill pumped his fist in the air while the alien observers stared in shock at their readings. The ship hadn't just reached orbit. It had done so with power to spare. "Beginning orbital maneuvers," Mike reported. He unstrapped from his seat and pushed himself up. In the zero gravity, he moved with surprising grace. The Council ships watching nearby caught video of him floating inside the cockpit, performing checks with practiced ease. "How is he moving so well?" one alien captain asked over the shared channel. "He just left triple gravity." The answer came when Mike activated his suit's external camera. The aliens watched in amazement as he easily pushed off walls and caught himself. Movements that took their species months of training to master in zero gravity. "That's impossible," another council member said. "His muscles should be too strong, his movements too forceful for zero gravity." Bill's voice came over the channel. "Actually, we're better suited for space than you might think. Our bodies are used to fighting heavy gravity, so we have excellent control over our movements. When there's no gravity to fight against, that control gives us incredible precision." To demonstrate, Mike began a series of acrobatic moves in the cabin. Each movement was perfectly controlled, each stop precisely measured. The aliens watched as this being, evolved to survive in crushing gravity, proved equally capable in its absence. "Beginning equipment test," Mike announced. He opened a storage compartment and pulled out tools that would require mechanical assistance for most alien species to lift, even in zero gravity. He handled them effortlessly. The Council ships moved closer, their sensors recording everything. Inside their vessels, alien crews watched with growing realization. These humans weren't just strong. They were adaptable in ways nobody had predicted. "Starting engine restart sequence," Mike reported. The ship's engines came to life again, gentler this time without Earth's gravity to fight against. The vessel moved through a series of complex maneuvers, demonstrating agility that matched or exceeded the Council's best ships. In the control room, Bill turned to the lead alien observer. "Your ships are built for worlds with 1/3 our gravity. That means they only need 1/3 the strength. But our ship? It's built to escape Earth. Out here, that extra power gives us capabilities your ships can't match." The observer nodded slowly, understanding dawning. "You're not just surviving Earth's gravity. You've turned it into an advantage even in space." Reports flew across the galaxy. Videos of the human ship's performance spread rapidly. Betting pools paid out fortunes to the few who had believed in human success. But more importantly, scientists and engineers across countless worlds began reconsidering everything they thought they knew about space travel. Mike's voice came through one final time. Beginning return sequence. But first, he pushed off gently from the wall, floating to the window. Through it, he could see Earth hanging in space, beautiful and blue. The planet that the galaxy had called a prison had instead been humanity's training ground. "Take a good look," he said to the watching council ships. "That gravity well you thought would hold us back. It just helped us break free. And we're just getting started." In the council chamber, the members watched in stunned silence. They had expected to witness a primitive species fail. Instead, they had seen the birth of a new era in space travel. 1 month after the successful launch, the Galactic Council's main chamber looked very different. Human engineers had installed gravity control systems throughout the building, allowing different sections to maintain different gravity levels. Council members now watched in amazement as their human colleagues walked comfortably through high-gravity areas, while they stayed in their usual lighter zones. Bill stood at the main podium, presenting Earth's latest developments to the Council. Behind him, Mike demonstrated new spacesuit designs that incorporated human engineering principles. "As you can see," Bill explained, "our experience with high gravity has led to innovations you never considered. Our ships are stronger, our materials more durable, and our designs more efficient." The Council leader, Marcus, nodded in agreement. "We thought Earth's gravity was a curse. Instead, it gave your species extraordinary advantages. The Council formally welcomes Earth as a full member, with all rights and privileges." The chamber erupted in applause. On screens worldwide, humans celebrated their acceptance into the galactic community. But this was just the beginning. "We have more to share," Bill continued. "Our scientists have already designed new mining equipment that can work in high-gravity environments. Places you thought were impossible to reach are now accessible." The alien representatives leaned forward with interest. Worlds they had dismissed as too dangerous suddenly held new potential. Mike stepped up to demonstrate the next innovation. "And this," he said, holding up what looked like a simple wristband, "is our solution for your gravity problems on Earth. Instead of fighting against our gravity, this device helps your bodies adapt to it gradually. Within a few weeks, you can walk on Earth without full support suits." The Council members murmured in excitement. The device represented more than just convenience. It meant real cooperation between species was possible. But most importantly, Bill added, "We're ready to begin our Mars colonization project, and we'd like to invite Council species to join us." Holographic images appeared, showing plans for the first Mars base. The designs incorporated both human and alien technology, creating something entirely new. "Your anti-gravity systems, combined with our high-gravity engineering, will make it easier than ever to build in space," Bill explained. "Together, we can achieve things neither of us could do alone." The Council's scientific advisor stood up. "Your species has already changed how we think about space travel. The ships you've designed can reach deeper into high-gravity solar systems than anything we've built before." "That's right," Mike replied. "And we're just getting started. The same gravity that you thought would trap us on Earth has prepared us to explore places you never could. Together, we can reach further than ever before." As the presentation ended, Council members from 100 worlds lined up to discuss cooperation opportunities with the human delegation. Species that had once pitied humans for their primitive world now sought their expertise. In orbit above Earth, construction had already begun on a new type of space station. Its rotating sections could simulate different gravity levels, allowing all species to work together comfortably. It stood as a symbol of how humanity had transformed from a curiosity into a vital part of the galactic community. Bill and Mike stood at a window overlooking Earth at the end of the day. Their home, once considered a prison by the galaxy, now represented hope and new possibilities. "They thought our gravity would hold us back," Mike said quietly. "Instead, it made us strong enough to reach the stars." Bill smiled. "And now we get to help others reach them too." Across the galaxy, the story spread. The humans who turned their world's greatest challenge into their greatest strength. Earth's high gravity hadn't trapped humanity. It had prepared them to help lead the galaxy into a new age of exploration and discovery.